Welcome, everybody, to our brand new podcast. It's called The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm Chris Stewart from the Crimson Tide Sports Network. You know these other two guys really well. Trent Richardson, A.J. McCarron, two Alabama legends, both guys multiple national champions, pro football on their resumes, and a couple of pretty good guys as well. Known them literally since they were kids. And glad to have this opportunity to work with them. Gentlemen, good to see it after months and months of talking. Glad we finally got this thing going. And Trent wins the Best Background Award, by the way, AJ.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Thanks to my kids.
Yes, that's always important. AJ, I know you've done a ton of talk on radio shows and podcasts yourself. Glad we got a chance to give us our format. And again, the most important thing from my standpoint, please don't get me fired from my day job. But we are excited. I mean, you're not afraid to say what you think, and we're going to have a good time with that.
Yeah, listen, I'm pumped. I'm excited to be with two legends like yourselves. It's that knows so much about the University of Alabama, but along with Alabama football especially. So this is going to be fun, exciting. Listen, I'm going to tell the truth, even if Alabama fans don't want to hear it. It's just the way I am. I'm honest with myself. I'm honest with my kids and family. So we're family for sure. We've all been with each other for a long time, and but I think it's only right to share the truth and our experiences, with the Alabama fan base. So I'm excited.
Me too. And Trent, it is a chance for us to talk about what's going on now, but also kind of sharing stories. And that's the thing that's going to be fun. We'll eventually have some guests on with us, but when there are moments to kind of relate things to the past, we're going to do it, as well as obviously talking about what's happening here and now with the Crimson Tide, regardless of what sport it is, even though mainly our focus obviously will be on football.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's gonna be an experience. It's gonna be an experience for everybody, man, to see how we see the game and from what we know and from what we've have been in. And to be with, like AJ said, to be with two living legends. AJ's, a phenomenal quarterback. He's a phenomenal analyst of the game. And you have been that for a long time too, Chris. A phenomenal analyst to the game, and you have seen plenty of games and been around the game for a long. One more time.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank you, man. Translation, I ain't no legend, I'm old. That's the Latin word for you, an old dude. Yeah, thank you.
But
Thank you very much.
Yeah, these times that we're gonna have on this show is gonna be fun. And like I said, like AJ said, I'm pumped up, I'm excited, I'm fired up, and I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's just get right into the season, which is less than 100 days away now. Bama's going to kick it off against Florida State. We got spring in the books. It's starting to feel hot and humid, so that means football's here. Really want to know what you guys think about year two under Kalen DeBoer. And Trent, let's start it with you. New starting quarterback, new OC in Tuscaloosa this year. Which of the quarterbacks, whether it's Ty Simpson, Keelan Russell, or Austin Mack, is going to give Bama the best chance to compete for an SEC title and get back into that CFP?
For me, year two, man. I think the sky's the limit for them, and I think that they do have the team. Far as the guys that's around the quarterback that can make his job way easier. Now, would they use everybody? I don't know. Hopefully, they do. And I definitely think it for me. You need to start in the run game. In the trenches, and that's up front, starting first. Control the line of scrimmage on both sides. And I think from there, you put your quarterback, and I think for me, Ty Simpson right now is the best, fit. Not saying that he's the best quarterback right now. I'm saying the best fit to, knowing his offense, knowing, how coach is thinking a little bit, and, for him to be underneath coach for 2 years as the head coach. I think it's going to be good with their relationship, but I want to see how it's going to translate with the new offense coordinator. And I know Ty haven't been in his system, and I know they did a little bit last year, but now we're going back to, the Washington system that, coach had and it's been phenomenal. And they won plenty of games, and I think it's gonna be a good year for Ty Simpson, man. All he got to do is deliver, just deliver, manage the game, and just be you. Have fun.
AJ, it ain't like he's doesn't have weapons available to him, that's for sure.
No, I mean, listen, you got a ton of weapons out wide. I think to hit on what Trent just talked about, the biggest thing going into this year, they have to establish a run game that's with the running backs, right? Last year, I mean, going into this year, you lose a great playmaker, and which was probably 95% of your run game last year in Jalen Milrow. I I I think you got to get back to playing the quarterback position how they know it as a coaching staff with Michael Penix Jr. in Washington. I think having a established run game with the running backs, being able to establish that early throughout the season, that helps the passing game evolve and open up a little more. I think that's the biggest thing going into this year for Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb as the new OC. If they can do that, I think the sky's the limit for success for them. They have a ton of returners coming back on defense. You didn't lose anybody in the transfer portal from this team, so you have a bunch of guys that are buying into what you want to do as a coaching staff, your standard that you're trying to set, right? But I think as an offense, the offense has to be your when I view this team almost like the 2011 team for us, right? We had a
Mm.
ton of returners coming back on defense, a very established, well-established defense that year. Us as an offense was manage the game. If the possession ends in a kick, whether it's a field goal or a punt, it's not always bad, right? And it allows the year to go on, your offense to get established more, what your true identity is, and then being able to feed off that late into the year when you have to. When your offense has to put up points, you have to move the ball and sustain drives. So I think that's a probably the biggest key for them going into this year.
You know, another huge key is the fact that Ryan Grubb is back as the OC, and I think it's gonna be unfair for Nick Sheridan if things go like we think it's going to on offense. It's gonna be much better than last year, and people will naturally equate that to being, well, Ryan Grubb's better than Nick Sheridan. There is a comfort level clearly with Coach Grubb because he and Coach DeBoer worked together for so long, and he was the guy that was actually the OC through spring practice last year before he decided to stay out west and stay with the Seahawks. But the reality is the situation's better. So you've got an OC that there's a comfort level with, but you've also got a more stable situation
Yeah.
with that entire locker room and roster, don't you? I mean, that plays as much into it. This offense was going to be better regardless, but you've got a chance to take it even to a higher level given who and what Ryan Grubb is. This is the third straight year he's had a chance to be in Tuscaloosa because Nick Saban wanted to hire him. Coach Grubb had him hired last year, but now he's finally going to make it, we hope, knock on wood, to day
Mm.
one as the OC for this football team when you open it up down at Doak Campbell against Florida State.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I mean, whenever you're the OC at Alabama, you're going to catch hell regardless. If you don't put up 35 points to 50 points every game, it's just, it is what it is, right? Every OC has experienced that. I've been with multiple OCs throughout my career at Alabama. So it comes with the territory. But I
Mal Moore
think,
caught it with Bear Bryant. I mean,
yeah,
it goes way back.
yeah. So I think speaking on what you were talking about, Chris, the comfort level between Kalen and Ryan Grubb probably settles him down a little bit, right? As a head coach of this team, just knowing what Ryan Grubb likes in certain situations. Nick was younger, was newer, um, probably at certain times liked things different than what Kalen DeBoer did. So I think getting back to what he knows and having that experience in Washington with Ryan Grubb and what he likes in certain situations. Because the biggest thing as a head coach to an offensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator to a quarterback is when you don't have that rapport right there and you don't know what your OC is going to call, or if you're a head coach and you don't understand what your OC is about to call, you the best offenses you can almost you see videos of it, right? Of quarterbacks getting a play call in and they're already waving them off because they already know what that
Mhm.
OC was going to call in that situation. Right. As soon as he started, oh, it clicks. I know that game plan.
Right.
Boom. Leave me alone. I got it. Right. So it's the same type of uh, you know, respect and just knowing what each other is going to call in that situation. So I think it'll be better for him this year.
Well, to
Trent.
piggyback off that, man, I think, having Nick around too, I think that's gonna be a comfort level for the quarterbacks that's already been there. They do know the guy. And I think with having both of them guys on staff, if those guys don't bump heads, I think the solution would be found as far as, like what's the audible? Or, when we see this, like they got different minds of different offenses. And so they put them together, man. I think that's a plus to me. But I never had to really I never really had to deal with that in college. But man, you got the Bama effect, and I want to say Nick Saban effect, but you got the Bama effect when you go around and have different offense coordinators every year, and you got to learn new systems and learn new words, new languages, protections. How they want their protection, how they want the offense, and it's hard. It's a hard deal. So building that confidence with that quarterback, like AJ was just saying, like AJ built that confidence, and it came from his freshman year. Like he built it up, scout team. And I literally watched this man. And I'm not saying this because he's online. Throw up 600 yards of practice, 500 yards of practice, and we would have to restart the whole practice. But the comfort level that he had with the offense coordinator Jim McElwain when I was there, AJ knew exactly what was going on. Like our first 12 plays, he had them down pat. Like you didn't have to call nothing, you didn't have to bring nobody in. Like he knew exactly how Jim McElwain think. And so that comes from years of experience and being in there, with him 24/7. I can see him in there with the offensive line. I could see him, and it made me better because it made me want to stay and learn from him too. Because I had to see what he was thinking because I had to know what these linebackers was doing, what the receiver was doing, the concept of the play, and that helped me out a lot by watching him. And it made me a better player because it made me want to do it. And so the comfort level in that, he was a leader from the jump. He was a leader from the jump because he knew his stuff. And so Coach McElwain made sure that AJ was comfortable enough to know that, hey, if I need to put this in your hands, you got it.
All right, let's go real quick before we wrap up this segment. Jam Miller, Richard Young, Daniel Hill, Kevin Riley, all back at running back. Dre Washington's coming in from Louisiana. AK Deer, 4-star freshman. You got 6 options, pretty good ones in the backfield. Are you expecting to see one running back? Is it going to be Jam dominating the carries, or you think they're going to share the load, Trent?
Nah, I think they're gonna shut a load. If it was me, I would. Just playing the SEC anyway, you need a two-headed monster. I was lucky enough to have three, almost three every year. When me and Mark was there, it was me, Mark, and Upchurch, and then it was me, Mark, and Eddie Lacy. Then it was Eddie Lacy, and I think it was Big Justin Fowler. Like we had like a
Yeah.
system, and it wasn't just a third down back. We was all prepared for any moment, and so that was a good thing about it, man. So I'm pretty excited about this group this year. If we can get downhill, I think Jam is the guy. And I love what Dylan is doing. I love what Daniel is doing. But I think Jam will be the starter. Me and Mark never called each other starters. We always said we played beside each other.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, most of the time we would go out there, be in pony, and it'd be both of us out there. How can you stop us? And so, when you hear stuff like this, man, and when you got a guy that's coming in that's rushing over 1,100 yards, ready to run 6 yards a carry, 6.5, almost 7 yards a carry. I think your bench or your sideline, um, will be prepared to go. And so for that, what can these guys do without the football in their hand too? Can they block? Can they make sure the quarterback's not getting touched? Can they make sure that they're good disguised? I know most of the time when I was in the game, and if I wasn't touching the ball, I had to make sure I had picked up the blitz, make sure I had a good fake, make sure I knew the concept of the play once again. But I think Jam Miller is going to be the guy if we were starting the game today.
AJ?
Yeah, listen. Again, I agree with Trent. I think Jam Miller has the experience that you need in the backfield. Not just from running the ball, but protection wise. Because you got to have a guy back there that protects. The biggest thing is establish a run game. I don't care in the SEC. You got to have multiple horses, but be able to establish that run game up front as well. Get the big guys going because they love to run the football, and it opens up everything else. So,
All right, guys, when we come back, we're going to get your thoughts on what having the continuity that we're going to see from end of last year to this year, what that actually means under Kalen DeBoer in year 2, how it can affect the season, but also maybe the message that it sends as well. That's among the topics we're going to talk about. Also, the potential of a 9-team or a 9-game league schedule. Interesting thoughts. So you already see the head shaking from both Trent and AJ. We'll talk more about that when we continue here on The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome back to The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm Chris Stewart, along with, of course, AJ McCarron, Trent Richardson. Glad you're with us for our debut on this new platform. And again, new episodes of the show are going to drop each week. You can find them where you find all your social media platforms. The easiest way, go to thedynastybama.com. Thedynastybama.com. That's where you can go to that website. It's got all of the different social media links, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where you're going to find us. But also on social media at the Dynasty Bama is the connection to us as well, and we appreciate you checking us out. Guys, let's talk real quick, kind of finishing up from the last segment. We talked about all the change for the Crimson Tide a year ago. You got the legend retiring in Nick Saban. You got the new coach with the great track record in Kalen DeBoer. But you had a lot of new faces, whether you're talking about Coach DeBoer, his staff, players themselves. That's not the issue 12 months later. Thank goodness, not only is there continuity with the staff, even the one change you have, you're getting an OC back in Ryan Grubb, who at least has been on the campus, who has worked for years with Coach DeBoer and many of those assistants. But you also didn't have anybody leave when the portal opened up. Forget about personnel-wise and what that means on the field. From a locker room standpoint, a culture standpoint, a statement of stability. What does that mean, Trent, to have basically everybody back from the time spring football wrapped up? I know that wasn't a conversation maybe 3-4 years ago, but it's a major part of college athletics now.
Man, I think it's big. When it's open now that guys can transfer and spring and whatnot and come back and get back in class, then transfer again or get back in the portal. It's kind of crazy, right? And I don't know if I said it right, but I was close, right?
You nailed it. You stuck the landing.
Yeah, I know what I meant.
Yes, exactly.
But for me, man, like to have everybody coming back, and to have a coach like Coach Grubb that's been around, and that has a great track record of calling plays, of being a great offense coordinator, and has been around the campus and has been in Washington with Coach, man, I think it's going to be big. Like I don't see. I'm not saying that hey, he's a savior out there, but I don't see us not making it in the playoff system.
Yeah, and we're going to get
can't see that.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a second. But AJ, I think from a fan standpoint, it's probably put to ease maybe the thinking of some, not that we know how fans are, but at the same time, there's a legit reason to feel really good about the fact that guys that are closest to it are clinging to it and not running from what's taking place.
Oh, 100%. Listen, it's two options here, right? Whether people want to hear it or not. It's showing either guys are buying into the system,
Mhm.
right? They're trusting in what the coaches are trying to build. They're loving the way they go about it each and every day, the standard they're trying to set. Or in today's age, those checks are hitting, baby.
True,
And
true.
they like that money coming in. So
Yeah.
that's your two options, right?
What your
I
boy
mean,
say? It must be the money.
yeah, must be the money. Straight cash, homie. So it's two options. Either way, it's going good for him. So I think this helps their team, though. I really do. And like I mentioned in our first segment, I think them returning everybody as a team, but especially on defense and not losing a ton of starters on defense is going to help them tremendously to allow their offense with whether it's Ty Simpson or Keelan Russell or Austin Mack, whoever it is at the quarterback spot, it's going to allow their offense to build on at a good pace throughout the season and end up having a good year.
We laugh, and just to put a cap on that, we laugh about, the checks clearing and all that. That too is a sign of consistency, because if the people donating the money didn't believe, those checks wouldn't still be coming in. So
Yep.
that's a good sign as well, that the checks are able to be cashed, if you will, in that regard. All of that is with the hope that you're in the playoff and the belief that you're going to be back in the playoff. The playoff looks slightly different. We know it's going to change in the future, but for now, there is a big change, AJ, that you were very much a proponent of. Um, they're going to go with a straight seeding model in 2025. Top four ranked teams receive the top four seeds and that very important bye that comes with it. If the model was used last year, Texas would have been the 3 seed, excuse me, instead of Boise, and Penn State would have been the 4 rather than Arizona State. That's the way it should look, right?
100%. I'm just glad we finally got some common sense in the college football playoff committee, um, because last year's model was horrific, and that's just being as nice as I possibly can. The fact that you gave Boise and Arizona State a bye when Arizona State wasn't even ranked in the top 12,
Yeah.
most of the year. So I understand, great. They win their conference. If you want to give them a spot in the playoff, that's fine. But there needed to be a reseeding process after they've established, all right, the top 12 teams that are making it. Okay, now let's reseed. That's the way it should be. I'm just glad they finally got something right for me.
Trent.
Well, for me, with the seeding last year, for me, it was just like who is seeding this stuff? Like, who is watching these games? Who is, I understand like that team deserved to be in the playoffs. I don't take that away from them. But to have a bye week, and I'm talking about Boise, and it's not to knock on Boise, but man, they're not playing the SEC. They're not playing the Big Ten. They're not, and
It's
it's
not even
no
the best
block
Boise
on,
team they've had in
yeah, and it's
recent
not even
years.
the best
No.
Boise team. I mean, we done seen some Boise teams that was putting up. Hey, we done took a couple plays from them when I was in school. And was it Kellen? Was it Kellen Moore?
Kellen
Who was
Moore.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that offense that they had that year was crazy.
Yep.
You remember that play Bronco? When we
Yeah.
was-
Yeah.
yeah, man. But it's stuff like that, man. Like it to me for the SEC, and I know a lot of people think like this. It's a bias to the committee to not have as many teams as the SEC in there. Now you're getting a situation. Well, I guess we're gonna jump into it, but they're trying. To me, I look at it as they're trying to get the SEC up out of the national championship because there's so many guys, so many championships that we have had. Like they want to see a new face because they don't want to keep seeing the same SEC and SEC and SEC. I think it's, and I think it's been like that. And I think that's why they started the playoff system, because when we came back and played LSU and beat them in the national championship 21-0, um,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
when we did that and they didn't make it across the 50, I ain't throwing no punches.
No.
Just stating facts.
Yes.
But when we did that, they started the playoff system, and I think that came from that game. And then I think it was Bama and Georgia back in the national championship again. And it was kind of like one of them things, like you couldn't keep us out, right? And so it's gonna be crazy, man. I don't know. Like I said, I want to see where it goes. I agree with everything what AJ just said.
All right, guys, I think we're all happy that the guy leading the charge for the Southeastern Conference is Greg Sankey, because in some comments that he made yesterday, and I think the quote was this: Brett Yormark from the Big 12 said in a statement, he hopes what's best for the sport continues to be the priority in any discussions moving forward. Meanwhile, Greg Sankey comes out and says, I don't need lectures from others about good of the game. I don't lecture others about good of the game. You can issue your press statement, but I'm actually looking for ideas. There are formats out there that talk about the SEC, Big Ten getting 4 automatic bids each, the Big 12 getting 2, the ACC getting 2, and then there being 1 for the highest ranked group of 6 champion. But in addition to that, you've got 3 at large bids, and of course Notre Dame will factor into that. Here's the bigger question I guess we've got, guys. Do we even need 16 teams? And Trent, we'll let you go with you first, because when we go to AJ on this, we may not get it back, because I know how he feels. But Trent, what do you think?
Man, hell no.
Okay.
Excuse my language.
That's all right.
But no, it's no reason for it. Like, how are we going to be acting on a real national champion when you instead of adding more teams? And I really appreciate what Greg said in that. Like, don't limit me to 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about expanding, and now you're trying to limit us to just 4 teams, and we know, like, we had 6 teams in the last championship week. We had 6 teams in the top 15.
Yeah.
Yep.
Come on, man. Like, that don't make sense to me. It don't make sense to anybody that's football minded,
Right?
or it's for the game of football. Like, I get it. Y'all want money. I get it. But at the same time, like, man, let's not screw these kids out of the national championship or a chance to be, on top, because it's money issues going along with the conferences.
All right, AJ, the floor is yours.
Well, I mean, listen, Brett Yormark, and they want what's best for their conference, because their conference is already lacking, right?
Mhm.
The Big 12 is not very good. The ACC, not as good anymore. I mean, your 2 main horses and powerhouses in college football are the Big 10 and SEC. And again, like Trent said, I thought Greg Sankey's answer was awesome. You had 3 SEC teams that were the first 3 teams out last year looking in. If you expand, that makes no sense to limit us to a certain amount. But at the same time, my biggest thing with this whole college football playoff system is, when is enough enough? When is it? We got away from the BCS era because people were pissed because, especially the year when they put LSU 1 and us back to number 2. Oh, we should have been in there. We shouldn't be ranked number 3. Well, and then you expand it, or go to the college football playoff format and create 4 teams. Well, then whoever's the 5th seed is just pissed that they weren't the 4th seed.
Yeah.
Right. And then we go to 12. And now whoever's 13 or on is pissed because they're not in the top 12. At what point is this going to solve anything?
Yeah.
I mean, we just keep going
Yeah,
with.
you just keep adding.
Yeah, you just keep adding. Like, you're adding more games on these kids. like, I understand, oh, yeah, it creates more money, more bowl games, more hype, more TV contracts, stuff like that. But when is enough enough? When are we just going to say, hey, this is it, like it or not? And this is the format we're going with. Uh, in the grand scheme of things, the only way all of this gets solved is for the Big Ten and SEC to leave the NCAA,
Mm.
create their own deal, invite other teams in, and you have a NFL style AFC NFC division, and that's how we're doing it. Because the NCAA has no clue what they're doing right now. They haven't for many of years. I think that's been proven. And I just don't understand, when is enough enough? It's just, this whole thing just is mind boggling.
Well, you talk about leaving and starting their own. I think Greg Sankey's comments in the last few days is either the last warning shot that this is what's coming, or excuse me, everybody step in line, or this is what we're going to do, or it's a clear signal that the wheels are already in motion for that to take place. We've got more time to talk about that, but the big thing we're going to discuss when we come back is the fact that the SEC is talking about adding a ninth game to its schedule, and also potentially the SEC and Big Ten going into a scheduling alignment, or alliance, I should say. That's coming up as we continue with more of The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Chris Stewart, of course, with AJ McCarron, Trent Richardson. It's the debut edition of The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And yeah, we're talking mostly football. We'll talk other sports as well. In fact, there's something coming up at the end we're going to talk about, as the Tide is still playing in one sport in the postseason. But guys, the ninth conference game, or the potential thereof, is a big topic of conversation right now. And Trent, ESPN, or according to The Athletic, ESPN is indicating a willingness to pay the conference more money if the conference does indeed add a ninth league game. Sources indicate the additional payment could be somewhere between $50 and $80 million per year. What do you think? Are you in favor of the ninth league game? I know the answer, but I'm trying to be an attorney here and ask a question that I already know the answer to. But your thoughts on a ninth game being added for the SEC?
I think this is the segment when we get us a hell no.
Again,
Hell no.
it's a two hell no show, AJ, from Trent.
Why? Why? Like, why do you're gonna pay us? You're trying to pay us almost 50, almost $100 million more to beat up on each other, to give everybody else an opportunity to get their rankings higher, because we're going to beat up on each other, of course. And it's not fair to those kids, man. I know, the world is ran with money, right? I know it's ran by money, especially college football now. But man, don't do that to these kids, man. You taking stuff from them when you do that. Like, it's not fair to those kids that you're adding another game, and you're for me, if y'all gonna do all this stuff like this, man, get rid of the SEC championship, like what AJ was talking about earlier. Like, I don't understand. Like, y'all want us to go 9-game season. This is not the bubble. We're not in the bubble phase of the when it was COVID out, right? I get that. That was a one-time deal. But man, and I know a lot of people say, man, it works. Yeah, but it works for who? It don't work for our kids. It don't work for the SEC. It works for the ACC, Big Ten, all the other conferences out there. It don't work. It's just not a good taste for me, man, to say that I'm finna go put myself on the limb again, and the school gonna get all that money. But to me, it's not about the money. It's about the game. Like, why do you put these kids out there to destroy each other, and for us to have we won't have another bid in the playoffs?
AJ, I'm going to be, even though I don't necessarily disagree, I am going to play devil's advocate on this. He talks
Yeah.
about not wanting to add the ninth. You're going to play a game anyway. So if there's going to be more money in the hopper, and there is like this, we expect it to come out, there is going to be revenue sharing. So if that happens, the players are going to get a cut. So there's going to be more available to them. Also, again, there's going to be it's not like you're adding an additional game. You may be adding a tougher game, but again, it's more eyeballs on those games, more so than a non-conference game against a bottom level D1 program. Do you share the same thoughts as Trent on this same feeling? And maybe if you do or don't, why is your feeling maybe a little bit different, if at all?
Yeah, no, I'm with Trent, and I understand the devil's advocate right there on your side. You're not adding an extra game. The way, if I was Greg Sankey, the way I would look at it, are we the best conference from top to bottom?
Mm.
I would say yes. Throughout the entire conference, I mean, Vandy was the laughing stock of the SEC forever, right? I mean, you scheduled them for homecoming, things like that. Vandy is should have beaten multiple teams last year. I mean, they proved that early in the year, right? Right? Like the program they're building is one that can work in this college system, getting kids in, making them buy into the system. It's not just all about money with those kids. Um, I think from the top to bottom, you're the best conference in college football by far. And I think if you're scheduling more games against yourself, it ends up hurting you more than it does helps you. So I don't understand. I understand, from a rev sharing standpoint, it's more money coming into the conference, which allows your school to have more money throughout the pot. My only thing though, and I'm sure there's SEC coaches that probably feel the same way. SEC coaches aren't keeping their jobs with not winning national championships.
Mm.
You get fired at a big SEC school because you don't win a national championship. It's been proven. Jim McElwain took Florida to multiple back-to-back bowl seasons.
Back-to-back.
Yep.
And
Back-to-back SEC championship games.
Yep.
right. He got fired. Dan Mullen came in. Same thing. Had a successful year. Ends up getting let go. Like these coaches are in and out of these programs because they're not winning and not competing for national championships. So you add this ninth in conference game, and now you lose that game when you should have won that game. Now it knocks you out of the seating for the playoffs. Does that hurt your conference or help your conference? To me, it ultimately hurts your conference by adding a ninth in conference game. And I think it's set up to really hurt the SEC as a whole. It's not something I would add or do. I would play a Georgia Southern, Georgia State, like another school. Thinking of schools that we played, but
Sure.
that's the type of school that I would schedule for that game, not a in conference game.
Yeah.
But Chris,
Georgia
before
Southern, be ready for that tin horn, though.
Yeah.
but even before that though, like it's not fair to our kid. Like you think about Notre Dame. Like Notre Dame don't have to go through none of that. And that's not fair to our kids because now you sitting there and telling me that you want to add another powerhouse team, which we know in the SEC, every team can be a powerhouse any given Saturday. And Notre Dame don't have to go through this, like, and they get bids.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
I'm not even going to go through the not fair deal, even though I'm not disagreeing with you. But you guys talked about the COVID year. We added the extra game, the extra conference game. Which team was clearly the best in the nation that year? Winning close, Alabama. Winning close. Ran through everybody with the exception of the weird deal with Florida in the SEC championship game. But, America can talk about, and I say America, I'm talking about anybody but the SEC. They can talk about, well, if y'all had to play 9 games, we play what we play. And then when we get to the playoffs, we still beat you
Yep.
most of the time. Granted,
Yeah.
it didn't happen this past year. There have been years Ohio State won. But you know why Ohio State won? It's because they're built most like an SEC team of anybody outside the SEC. Is that
Mhm.
fair?
Yep.
All
100%.
right. All right. Again, on this podcast every week, it's going to be primarily football, obviously, but there's going to be room to talk. It's the reason we didn't call this the Dynasty, a podcast on Alabama football. It's a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. You guys, I know, took in a ton of sporting events as student athletes. You guys still watch and keep up with anything that's labeled Crimson Tide. We're used to talking about Patrick Murphy's Alabama softball team
Mm.
this time of year. Again, got paired. We talk about SEC on SEC. That's what happened. They got forced to go to Oklahoma to play in the Super Regional. Lost a tight one, then got beat pretty bad. So they're not going back to Oklahoma City. But again, another postseason run. Other schools are investing. I get asked this all the time, guys, and I know we're not going to go a deep dive into this, but people will want to make the claim that, well, Alabama softball's dropped off. I don't think Alabama softball's dropped off. I think other schools are investing more
Yeah.
within the league and around the country. And that's that SEC TV money having an impact because it is trickling down to programs that in the past hadn't been very good or as competitive, and now they can be.
100%. Listen, there was nothing I liked doing more than going to watch girls softball during my time there. I would go take batting practice. Coach Pat would let me come take back batting practice with them and everything. To watch those girls do what they do at such a high level was awesome. I was rooting for him, wishing nothing but the best every year. He's an unbelievable coach. He's one of the best guys in the business by far. But I think in this day and age, it's going to be tough, right, to keep every sport successful just because of the rev sharing and the amount of money that schools can put into certain programs year in and year out. I think, there's rumblings out there like Arkansas is going to take money from the rev sharing, take money away from the rev sharing side for football, and they're going to put it into other sports. I think that's foreshadowing for something that's going to happen after this year to their football staff. But
Hmm.
it's going to be tougher for schools to have successful sports throughout the whole program in today's age.
All right. Go ahead. You got something, Trent?
You got it, but I'm with AJ.
Uh,
I definitely was pulling this week, man. I love Coach Pat. He always been one of the best guys in the building around Alabama. He always been a big football fan. I remember going to the ESPYs and he was there, and we spent a lot of time, and we're just talking about the the continuity in the sport, in the respect in the respect that I had for him, because I raised my daughter, up playing softball, and that was one of our deals, man, for her to go watch a game, and he let her come and watch a game, and so I love what they do with their program. I think when we was
yeah.
in school, AJ, I think we had 4 teams winning. Softball was one of the ones in
Yep.
2011.
Yeah.
Who won it? I think it was softball, golf. I know the debate team won. They win almost everything.
You were right there on the front row.
Gymnastics. It was
Yeah,
gymnastics.
you were right there on the front row.
Yeah.
I've said this about Murph in the athletic department, introducing him at stuff. You can talk about great coaches on campus, and we got them. Talk about great athletes, we got them. I don't think there is a better teammate on the Alabama campus than Patrick Murphy, because you guys talk about him being there. He's at baseball when there's not a conflict. Seen him at everything. The guy loves Alabama. The guy wants Alabama to be its best. He looks out for people. He is the best, and that's why we all pull for him. Besides the fact he still wins at a very, very high level. Real quick, baseball. Second year head coach Rob Vaughn has Bama baseball team back in the regionals for a second straight year. They just missed being a 1 seed. I think if they win any one of their final 2 road series, the one at Vandy or
Vandy.
the one at Florida, if they don't go 1-2, but they go 2-1 at either of those, I think they would have been a host,
Yep.
or maybe even beaten Tennessee in the SEC tournament. Didn't happen. They become a 2 seed, but a really high one. Um, at Southern Miss in Hattiesburg, which is the 16th overall seed. Bama's got a great chance to win there. Miami will be their first round opponent. Columbia's the 4 seed. It's a good balanced region, but I think Bama's got a chance to get out of there and see what happens after that. But it's about getting in first. It was a while, but this is 4 straight years now, guys, that it's happened for Bama baseball after a pretty lengthy drought. That's great to see again.
Yeah, it's awesome for the university, right? I mean, for whatever reason, during our time there, Bama baseball had just struggled and lacked in the win column and the overall success. But it's awesome to see them back up at towards the top competing. Hopefully, they can. They're the team that shows up for them is the same that went to Texas A&M and swept them earlier in the year in that series. That'd be sweet. And that was a big series win. So, um, listen, I wish them nothing but the best. Miami's always been good at baseball. Southern Miss has always been good at baseball as well because they're lacking in other sports. But and then we'll see how Columbia does.
Nice shot there
Yeah.
to Hattiesburg on the part of AJ, and a nice job of dodging Columbia as if it was an edge rush coming at him
Yeah.
from an SEC foe. Guys, out of time today. Fun to get it started. Looking forward to doing more of this, and we know you guys are going to be sharing it on your social media platforms. But we do want to remind everybody that you can find us on social media at the Dynasty Bama, and also all of those opportunities to find us through YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. It's available at thedynastybama.com. Guys, enjoyed it. I think we're still employed.
One more week.
One more week.
One more.
Survive in advance, fellas. For Trent, for AJ, I'm Chris. We appreciate you joining us for the maiden voyage of the Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide.